Do you know what happens between 3 and 5 a.m.? While the world sleeps, destiny whispers and only a few are awake enough to hear it. Most people think success is built during the day, but the truth is, your life is rewritten in the silence before sunrise. That's the hour when distractions die, when excuses fade, and when the strongest version of you wakes up. So today I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to shake you, because the version of you that keeps hitting snooze, that version has no idea what it's costing you. Do you know what happens between 3 and 5 a.m.? While the world sleeps, destiny whispers. Most people will never hear it because they're too busy dreaming someone else's dream. But the ones who do wake up, who rise in the darkness, who walk alone while the rest of the world rests, those are the ones who change everything. Between 3 and 5 a.m., there's a strange kind of silence that doesn't exist at any other time. It's not emptiness, it's power, it's possibility. It's the quiet before the storm of your potential. It's that sacred, unfiltered hour where your mind isn't reacting, it's creating. The energy of the world is still. The noise hasn't begun. And in that stillness, you can finally hear the sound of your own truth. There's something profoundly raw about those early hours. Something that strips away the performance we wear during the day. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to prove. You just have to be. When you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., you enter a space where your thoughts aren't diluted by anyone else's opinions. It's you and your heartbeat. It's you and your purpose. And for the first time, you start to see the distance between the person you are and the person you're meant to become. In that hour, you can feel it. That burning pull inside you that says, there's more. That quiet whisper that has been trying to reach you through the chaos of every ordinary day finally has a voice. And if you're still enough to listen, it tells you exactly where to go next. Your mind, in those hours, is unlike it is at any other point in the day. Psychologists call it the alpha state. A state between wake and sleep where your brain becomes a canvas. Whatever you feed it then, thoughts, affirmations, visions, sinks deep into your subconscious. This is the time when you can rewrite the script you've been living by. The one that says, I'm not enough, or I'll start later, or maybe someday. Between 3 and 5 a.m., those lies lose power. You're no longer negotiating with the world, you're negotiating with your own potential. You begin to realize that the walls around you were never real, they were built by belief. And belief is something you can reprogram. Each morning you wake in that silence. You're not just getting up early. You're stepping into your own evolution. Most people will never experience what it's like to wake up at that hour because they've built their lives around comfort. But comfort never made anyone extraordinary. There's a price for greatness, and one of its currencies is solitude. The silence that scares people. That's where transformation hides. You have to be brave enough to face yourself without distraction. To sit in that stillness and ask, what do I really want? What am I afraid to admit? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? And between 3 and 5 a.m., you can't hide from those questions. And you shouldn't want to, because clarity only comes when the noise stops. And in that clarity, you find direction. You find power. You find the truth that daytime distractions have buried. There's an ancient belief that between 3 and 5 a.m., the human spirit connects most deeply with the universe, that this is the hour when intuition sharpens, when creativity awakens, when answers appear that have been hiding all along. Whether you believe in science or spirituality, the outcome is the same. The early hours align you with something bigger than yourself. You're not just planning your day, you're programming your destiny. You start to feel gratitude without reason. You start to sense possibilities without proof. It's not magic, it's awareness. And awareness changes everything. The same world that looked impossible yesterday suddenly feels full of open doors. And that's because in that moment of alignment, you're no longer waiting for permission to rise. You've already risen. But let me be honest, it's not easy. Waking up that early is a rebellion against your comfort zone. Your body will resist. Your mind will negotiate. It will whisper, just a few more minutes. But those few minutes are where dreams die. Because if you surrender to comfort, you lose connection to purpose. You're not waking up early because it's fashionable. You're doing it because that's when your future self calls your name. That's when your inner strength sharpens, your ideas grow wings, and your fear finally has to face the light. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. That voice inside that says, I can do more, I can be more. And one day you'll look back and realize that it wasn't just an hour, it was the hour that changed your life. So yes, between 3 and 5 a.m. the world sleeps. But you rise. You rise not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. You rise because you've had enough of waiting for the right moment, the perfect opportunity, the convenient time. You rise because you've decided to listen to that quiet force within you that says, wake up, your time is now. Every morning you meet yourself before sunrise, you're building discipline, character, and unshakable self-belief. That's how you start winning. Not in public, but in the private hours where no one's watching. Because the truth is, the world doesn't reward those who sleep through their purpose. It rewards those who rise for it. Wake up between 3 and 5 a.m. Not because you have to, but because you're ready to meet the version of yourself that the world hasn't seen yet. That's where transformation begins. Not in daylight, but in the darkness you dare to rise from. Discipline, the word that makes some people roll their eyes and others rise to greatness. The truth is, discipline isn't punishment, it's power. It's not about waking up early just to brag about it or sticking to routines for the sake of control. Discipline is about freedom, the kind of freedom that comes when you no longer live at the mercy of your moods. When you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., it's not the clock that matters, it's the commitment. You're telling the world, I decide how my day begins. That's not a small thing, that's everything. Because if you can control the first hour of your day, you can control your direction, your energy, and ultimately, your destiny. Discipline isn't glamorous, it's not supposed to be. It's gritty, it's unshakable, and it's the invisible foundation under every visible success you've ever admired. Every successful person you've ever looked up to didn't get there by accident. They didn't stumble into greatness, they structured it. They built habits so strong that motivation became optional. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline is forever. It doesn't care if you're tired, bored, or uninspired. Discipline shows up even when you don't feel like it, and that's exactly why it changes everything. When you wake up before dawn, when you sit with your thoughts, when you put in the work while others rest, that's the purest form of power. Because you're not competing with anyone else anymore, you're competing with your own limits. Every time you win that silent battle, you build something extraordinary, self-respect, and that's the real reward. Because once you respect yourself, you'll stop settling for anything less than excellence. Discipline isn't a skill you're born with, it's a muscle you build. And like any muscle, it grows through resistance. Every time you push past the comfort of your pillow, the temptation of excuses, or the pull of procrastination, you get stronger. The first few mornings will feel like war. Your mind will tell you that you deserve to rest. That one more hour won't matter. That you can start tomorrow. That's the voice of mediocrity, and it's seductive. But when you silence it with action, you begin to change the wiring of your mind. You start proving to yourself that you are not your impulses. You are your intentions. The difference between the ordinary and the exceptional is not talent. It's consistency. It's doing what you said you would do long after the excitement of saying it has faded. You see, discipline doesn't steal joy, it gives you mastery. It allows you to be in charge of your energy, your thoughts, your future. Think about it. When you choose discipline, you stop living reactively. You stop letting the day control you, and you start controlling the day. That's the power most people never tap into because they mistake discipline for restriction. But what if I told you discipline is the purest form of self-love? Because every time you choose to do what's right over what's easy, you're honoring your future self. You're saying, I care about who I'm becoming. That's love in action. Discipline doesn't drain you, it refines you. It chisels away distraction, laziness, and fear until what's left is clarity, strength, and peace. Yes, peace. Because when your actions align with your vision, you stop feeling guilty, anxious, and lost. You feel grounded. You feel powerful. Discipline is not a morning routine, it's a life philosophy. It bleeds into every decision you make. What you eat, how you speak, how you treat others, how you treat yourself. It's about honoring your word, even when no one's watching. Because integrity and discipline are twins. You can't have one without the other. If you can't trust yourself to follow through on your own promises, how can you expect the world to trust you with greater opportunities? The reason people stay stuck isn't lack of opportunity. It's lack of discipline. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. So if your habits are weak, your results will be too. The moment you decide that your goals deserve more than your excuses, everything changes. Discipline isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to keep showing up. And let's be real, it's not supposed to be easy. You'll have days when you feel like quitting, when the world feels heavy, when progress seems invisible. But discipline is what carries you through those days. It's the voice that says, I'm not done yet. It's the quiet fire that burns even when the world goes cold. Success doesn't arrive on a schedule, it arrives for those who are still standing when everyone else has given up. That's what discipline gives you, endurance. The ability to outlast doubt, delay, and disappointment. Because discipline doesn't demand that you be fearless, it only asks that you keep moving, that you show up one more time and then one more. And every time you do, the impossible becomes possible. You see, every time you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., you're not just starting your day, you're proving something to yourself. You're proving that you have power over comfort, that your dreams mean more than your excuses, that your purpose outweighs your pain. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. It's not glamorous, but it's sacred. Because when you look back years from now, it won't be the easy mornings or the comfortable choices that define you. It'll be the mornings you rose while the world slept, the moments you chose action over comfort, and the times you kept going when it made no sense to. That's where greatness is born. In quiet moments of relentless discipline. Indiscipline is not a prison, it's the key. The key to freedom, to mastery, to a life you're proud to wake up to. So wake up early, stay consistent, and remember, success doesn't belong to the talented, it belongs to the disciplined. At 3 a.m., the world is asleep, the lights are dim, the streets are silent, and the noise that fills your mind during the day finally fades away. It's just you, your thoughts, and the quiet hum of your own existence. In that moment, there's a power most people never experience, the power of solitude, the kind that strips away the layers of expectation, pressure, and pretense. During the day, we play roles, worker, friend, parent, dreamer. But in the stillness of early morning, those roles fall away. You meet yourself without filters, without noise, without an audience. That's where true growth begins. Not in the crowd, not under the spotlight, but in the silence you've been too afraid to face. The power of solitude isn't about being alone, it's about being connected to yourself, to your truth, to the whispers you ignore when the world gets too loud. There's something sacred about those hours before sunrise. They belong to no one else but you. When you wake up early, you step into a rare pocket of time that the rest of the world wastes. No messages, no notifications, no demands, just clarity. That's when your inner voice becomes audible, and it doesn't whisper about what others expect of you. It reminds you of who you are. In solitude, you start hearing the questions you've been avoiding. What am I really doing? Why am I settling? What do I want from this life? These questions don't show up to torment you, they show up to awaken you. Because in silence you can't hide behind distraction anymore. You can't scroll past your truth, you can't drown it in noise. You must confront it, feel it, and rebuild from it. That's what solitude demands, honesty. And that honesty is what will save you. Most people fear being alone because it forces them to face what they've been avoiding. But that's exactly where your breakthrough lives, in the discomfort of your own company. Solitude reveals what noise conceals. It's in those quiet hours that you realize how much of your identity has been shaped by others, by expectations, opinions, comparisons. You start to see how often you've been performing instead of living. You start to understand that the crowd can celebrate you one day and forget you the next, but your relationship with yourself, that's eternal. When you can sit in silence and still feel peace, you've mastered something most people never will. You've learned that validation is an illusion and that solitude is strength, not loneliness. Because loneliness is the absence of others, solitude is the presence of yourself. In solitude, creativity awakens. The greatest ideas, inventions, and movements weren't born in chaos, they were born in quiet rooms, early mornings and late nights. In the presence of solitude, the world glorifies busyness, but brilliance lives in stillness. When you wake up at 3 a.m., you enter the rare space where your mind isn't reacting, it's creating. You stop consuming and start producing. Your thoughts are uninterrupted, your imagination untamed. You begin to connect dots that didn't seem related before. You start to see solutions where others see problems. That's not coincidence, that's the magic of focus. Solitude sharpens your attention. It gives your ideas the room they need to breathe, expand, and evolve. That's why artists, thinkers, and leaders often crave solitude, not because they're antisocial, but because they understand that greatness needs silence to grow. There's also a deeper, emotional truth to solitude. It heals you. The reason people stay busy, constantly surrounded, constantly entertained, is because silence reveals what's unhealed. But here's the thing, what you avoid in silence controls you in noise. The pain you refuse to feel becomes the pattern you repeat. When you give yourself time alone, you give yourself permission to feel, to process, to forgive. You stop running from your past and start learning from it. That's where real healing happens. Not in the noise of distraction, but in the quiet of reflection. You learn that solitude doesn't isolate you from life, it prepares you for it. Because when you can find peace alone, you stop depending on others to give it to you. You become whole, you become grounded, you become unstoppable. But solitude isn't just about peace, it's also about power. When you step away from the noise long enough, you realize how much of your energy has been leaking into things that don't matter. Arguments, gossip, validation, opinions. Solitude teaches you to protect your focus, to say no with conviction, and to say yes with intention. It gives you perspective, the kind that makes you stop chasing attention and start chasing meaning. Because when you truly understand yourself, you stop wasting time proving yourself. You stop trying to be seen and you start trying to make an impact. Solitude gives you the space to design the life you actually want, not the one the world told you to want. And when you step back into the world after spending time in that silence, you walk differently, not louder but stronger, because you know who you are and no amount of noise can shake that anymore. Solitude is not emptiness, it's elevation. It's the sacred space where your spirit breathes, your vision grows, and your purpose becomes unshakable. So the next time you find yourself awake at 3 a.m., don't reach for your phone, reach for your soul. Because the quiet moments you spend alone today will become the strength, the clarity, and the freedom you live with tomorrow. You wake up and before your eyes have even adjusted to the light, your thumb reaches for your phone. You scroll, you watch, you consume, and within seconds, you've already handed over your peace. The first thing you see, someone's success, someone's vacation, someone's perfect life. You compare your behind the scenes to their highlight reel, and suddenly your own life feels smaller. That's how the noise wins. Not because it's loud, but because it's constant. The truth is, most people don't lose focus all at once. They lose it inch by inch, scroll by scroll, distraction by distraction. And every second spent in comparison is a second stolen from creation. The world doesn't need another consumer. It needs creators, thinkers, dreamers, People who choose silence over static, intention over impulse. The noise around you isn't harmless, it's hypnotic. It dulls your ambition and makes mediocrity feel acceptable. And that's why breaking the noise is not optional, it's survival. There's a reason why the early morning hours between 3 and 5 a.m. are so powerful. It's because that's the one time the world is quiet enough for you to think your own thoughts. There are no updates, no texts, no endless opinions, just stillness. And in that stillness, you rediscover your mind. You remember your dreams, your ideas, your potential. It's a time when you can create without competition, focus without interruption, and move without the pressure of being seen. In those hours, you're not chasing anyone, you're building yourself. That silence is sacred because it gives you back something the modern world has stolen: presence. When you choose to be awake while the world sleeps, you disconnect from the noise and reconnect with your essence. You stop reacting and start directing. You stop existing on autopilot and start living by design. Noise is not just sound, it's distraction disguised as connection. It's every unnecessary conversation, every shallow validation, every notification that makes you feel busy but keeps you unproductive. And we live in an age addicted to it. People fear silence because silence exposes what they're running from: their doubts, their fears, their untapped potential. But the truth is, greatness can't grow in noise. Every time you mute the world, you give yourself a chance to hear the voice that actually matters. Your own. That inner voice doesn't shout, it whispers. It's patient, but it's persistent. And the more you listen to it, the stronger it becomes. You begin to realize that peace is not found in more noise, more opinions, or more approval. It's found in clarity. And clarity only arrives when distraction leaves. We've mistaken being connected for being alive. But they're not the same thing. Being connected keeps you informed. Being present keeps you inspired. The truth is, the noise of the world is designed to keep you average. Scrolling, comparing, consuming. Because if you're busy watching everyone else live, you'll never have time to build your own life. Every notification is an invitation to distraction. And every moment you spend in distraction is a moment stolen from your purpose. Breaking the noise means reclaiming your time, your focus, and your power. It means learning to say no. Not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. It's understanding that not everything deserves your attention. Because attention is your most valuable currency. And the world is trying to buy it cheap. When you finally choose to disconnect from the noise, something beautiful happens. You start hearing life again. You start feeling it. The sound of your own breath, the rhythm of your thoughts, the pulse of your creativity. That's what you've been missing. Noise drowns your instincts, but silence strengthens them. In that silence, you remember what matters. Not likes, not followers, not external validation, but fulfillment. You begin to see how much of your anxiety came from trying to live at the speed of everyone else's expectations. And when you step back, you realize that the race was never real. The competition was an illusion. You were never supposed to keep up, you were supposed to wake up. That's what breaking the noise does. It wakes you up to your own rhythm, your own purpose, your own path. Breaking the noise isn't about rejecting the world. It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about creating space between what matters and what doesn't. It's about learning that silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. The world will always try to pull you back in, through fear, through FOMO, through the illusion of urgency. But every time you choose quiet over chaos, you strengthen your connection to what's real. You begin to move differently, calmer, sharper, more deliberate, because now you're not reacting to life. You're designing it. You start protecting your peace like it's your greatest treasure, because it is. In a world that thrives on noise, peace is rebellion, focus is power, clarity is your weapon. So wake up between 3 and 5 a.m. and break the noise. Don't let the world program your mind before you've had the chance to listen to your soul. Turn down the distractions, tune in to your purpose, and remember this. Silence isn't weakness. It's where warriors are made. Because in the quiet, you don't lose yourself. You finally find yourself. Every morning before the sun rises, the world gives you a gift. A few hours untouched by noise, untouched by expectation, untouched by distraction. Between 3 and 5 a.m., your mind is open, raw, and receptive. It's not yet burdened by the weight of the day, the doubts of others, or the pressure to perform. This is the time when your subconscious, the deepest part of your mind, is most awake. It's the silent architect of your life, quietly building the patterns, beliefs, and emotions that shape your reality. Most people never realize how powerful this early window is. They wake up too late, rush through the noise, and let the world program their thoughts. But the few who rise early learn to reprogram themselves, deliberately, intentionally. They understand that the first voice you hear in the morning should be your own. And when you learn to speak to your mind before the world does, you stop reacting to life and start designing it. Every belief you hold, every thought you think, every word you repeat becomes a seed planted in your subconscious. Over time, those seeds grow into habits, choices, and outcomes. If you tell yourself you're not good enough, your mind will find proof of it everywhere. If you tell yourself you're unlucky, your brain will make it true. But if you wake up in the stillness before dawn and speak power, courage, and vision into yourself, something begins to shift. The mind doesn't argue, it obeys. It listens. It absorbs. This is why the early hours are sacred. Your brain hasn't yet gone into defense mode, hasn't yet put up walls of logic and doubt. It's open to suggestion. And when you use that time to plant beliefs that serve you, they start working for you even when you're not paying attention. You begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You begin to feel worthy where you once felt small. You begin to move differently because your inner voice has changed. Most people underestimate the power of self-talk. They let their thoughts run wild and wonder why their lives feel chaotic. But the mind is like a garden. It will grow whatever you plant, even weeds if you're not careful. The thoughts you repeat in the quiet hours of the morning become the foundation of your identity. So what are you telling yourself when you wake up? Are you repeating the limitations society taught you, or are you rewriting the story? This is where true transformation begins. Not in changing what you do, but in changing what you believe. You can't build a strong life on weak beliefs. The greatest shift happens when you realize you're not your thoughts, you're the thinker of them. And when you become intentional about what you think, you reclaim your power. Because the same mind that once told you you couldn't can be trained to believe that you can. Reprogramming your belief system isn't magic, it's mastery. It's not about pretending life is perfect. It's about choosing what to focus on, what to amplify, and what to release. Your beliefs are the filters through which you see the world. If you believe the world is full of scarcity, you'll only notice what's missing. But if you believe the world is abundant, you'll start to see opportunities you didn't know were there. Waking up early gives you a head start, a clean mental slate to set your energy, your tone, your story. You can visualize your goals, speak affirmations, and align your emotions with the life you want. When you do this daily, your subconscious begins to accept those ideas as fact. And when belief becomes certainty, your actions follow naturally. You stop forcing discipline and start flowing with it. You stop chasing outcomes and start attracting them. You stop waiting for luck and start creating alignment. The power of reprogramming lies in repetition. Just as negative self-talk can destroy confidence, positive reinforcement can rebuild it. The mind doesn't care whether what you tell it is true or false. It only cares what's consistent. That's why the first few minutes of your morning matter more than hours spent in motivation later. Because when you begin each day intentionally, you're setting your mental GPS towards success. You're reminding yourself that you are capable, deserving, and ready. And that message, repeated over days, weeks, and months, becomes your new default. People will start to notice something different about you. You'll speak with more conviction, move with more confidence, and act with quiet certainty. That's not luck, that's alignment. You've trained your mind to support your purpose instead of sabotage it. But remember this, Reprogramming your belief system is not a one-time act. It's a lifelong commitment. The world will always try to pull you back into fear, doubt, and limitation. Every advertisement, every opinion, every headline is designed to make you feel less secure, less capable, less in control. But when you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m. and center yourself in your own voice, you build mental armor. You become unshakable. You no longer need approval to feel enough. You no longer need certainty to take action. You begin to move with faith, not fear. Because belief is the foundation of everything. The silent force that shapes how you see, how you feel, and how you live. When you change your beliefs, you change your biology, your behavior, and your destiny. So wake up before the world does. Speak life into your dreams. Feed your mind before the world feeds it fear. Because your beliefs are not reflections of your reality. They are blueprints for it. Reprogram them with power. And watch your entire life rewire itself around your new truth. The miracle you've been waiting for isn't coming from outside. It's coming from within. There comes a moment in everyone's life when they must decide what they truly value. Comfort or legacy. Comfort feels good, it's soft, predictable, safe. It keeps you warm but keeps you small. Legacy, on the other hand, burns, it demands. It stretches you beyond the limits of ease. Most people spend their entire lives choosing comfort. The extra sleep, the postponed dream, the "I'll do it tomorrow." But tomorrow isn't promised. Legacy doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It's built in the moments when you choose to rise, even when every cell in your body wants to rest. Waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. isn't about the time on the clock. It's about the message you send to yourself and the universe. I'm not here to exist. I'm here to build something that outlives me. Comfort is temporary. Hourly, every sacrifice you make, every goal you chase relentlessly, they stack. One day, those invisible mornings become visible victories. One day, people will look at your life and say they did it differently. They didn't just live, they led. The truth about legacy is this: it requires a kind of courage that comfort can never provide. Courage to start when no one believes in you. Courage to fail, to fall, to rebuild. Courage to say no to distractions and yes to purpose. People will misunderstand you. They'll question your choices, mock your discipline, and call you obsessed. But obsession is what legacy is built on. Not mindless obsession with success, but sacred obsession with becoming your best self. While others waste time chasing approval, you'll be busy chasing mastery. Legacy builders don't seek validation, they seek evolution. They don't chase trends, they chase timelessness. They understand that every act of courage, every morning of sacrifice, every decision made in faith over fear, it all adds up. Because legacy isn't built in one grand act, it's built in 1,000 small acts of resilience. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that every early morning, every moment of discomfort, every sacrifice that once felt heavy was worth it. You'll see how the pain became purpose, how the discipline became destiny, how the struggle became strength. You'll understand that comfort may give you pleasure, but only legacy gives you peace. Because legacy is knowing you didn't just pass through life, you left something behind. You used your voice. You made an impact. You became the person your younger self dreamed of being. So choose legacy even when it hurts. Choose growth even when it's lonely. Choose purpose over pleasure. Because comfort fades the moment you stop moving. But legacy grows every time you rise again. Wake up between 3 and 5 a.m. Not to chase comfort, but to claim your calling. Build something that outlasts you. Let your discipline echo louder than your doubts. Because when your comfort ends, your legacy begins. And that legacy, that impact, that fire, that story will live long after you're gone. Every morning you wake up, you're given a choice: keep dreaming or start building. Most people think the two are the same, but they're not. Dreaming feels good, building feels hard. Dreaming happens in your head. Building happens through your hands, your discipline, your sacrifice. The moment you open your eyes between 3 and 5 a.m., you're not just waking up from sleep, You were waking up from comfort, from hesitation, from every excuse that's been holding you back. Those quiet hours before the world stirs aren't just peaceful, they're powerful. That's when destiny is whispering, are you ready to show up for what you said you wanted? Because success doesn't come to the talented, it comes to the consistent. The ones who wake up early, who move even when tired, who take one more step when no one's watching. Every day you rise before dawn, you're training your spirit to obey your purpose, not your emotions. And that's where transformation begins. When you stop negotiating with your goals and start showing up for them. It's not about waking up early just to say you did. It's about who you become in the process. Every time you rise while the rest of the world sleeps, you're building mental muscle. You're teaching your brain that comfort doesn't control you. You're reminding yourself that the dream you carry is worth losing a little sleep for. Because the truth is, there will never be a perfect time to begin. The universe doesn't reward hesitation, it rewards boldness. You have to stop waiting for motivation to strike and start creating your own momentum. The greats aren't more gifted, they're just more committed. They're willing to do what others won't, so they can live how others can't. When you wake up early, you're not just starting your day before everyone else, you're starting your fut. You're before anyone else. Those hours are your foundation. That's when you plant seeds that will one day bloom in ways the world will never understand, because they didn't see you when you were walking in silence. But make no mistake, the journey isn't easy. The early mornings will test you, the silence will challenge you, the fatigue will tempt you to quit. Your mind will whisper, no one's watching, you can rest. But that's exactly when you have to push harder. Because those moments, when it's hard, when it's quiet, when it's lonely, those are the moments that shape champions. Growth doesn't happen in comfort, it happens in resistance. Just like muscles tear before they grow stronger, your spirit stretches every time you choose discipline over delay. When you wake up early and push through resistance, you're proving to yourself that you can do hard things. And that belief, that unshakable confidence, becomes the foundation of every success that follows. Most people break when things get uncomfortable. The few who thrive are the ones who've made discomfort their ally. That's what rising early teaches you, to become stronger than your excuses. Waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. is not just a routine, it's a declaration. It says, I'm done being average. It says, I'm done living on autopilot. Because the truth is, your life doesn't change when you want it to. It changes when you decide it must. That decision, made daily in the quiet hours before sunrise, redefines who you are. You start thinking differently, moving differently, showing up differently. The chaos of the day doesn't control you because you've already set your tone before the world had the chance to. You've already fed your mind with purpose, your body with motion, and your spirit with intention. Those hours are sacred. That's when you connect with your vision and remind yourself why you started. You stop chasing motivation and start becoming it. You stop waiting for opportunity and start creating it. When the rest of the world finally wakes, you're already ahead. Not just in time, but in mindset, in energy, in clarity. And here's the truth most people avoid. Your success will not be celebrated in the beginning. You'll work in silence while others sleep, and you'll doubt yourself more times than you can count. You'll wonder if the effort is worth it. You'll feel invisible. But the thing about invisible effort is that it always becomes visible results. The hours you invest in silence are never wasted. They're compounding. Every morning you wake up early, every small action you take, every promise you keep to yourself, they stack. They build something inside you that can't be shaken. And when your breakthrough finally comes, people will call it luck. But it won't be luck. It will be proof. Proof of every unseen morning, every tired eye, every quiet sacrifice. That's the price of transformation. That's the path of the few who refuse to live small. So don't rise early just for the sake of productivity. Rise early to become unrecognizable to your past self. Rise to meet your potential head on. Rise because you refuse to live a life that's comfortable but unfulfilled. Every second before sunrise is a chance to become who you were always meant to be. The world belongs to those who move before it does. The early hours aren't just about time management. They're about identity. They're where you shift from dreaming to doing, from hoping to becoming. So wake up early, take back your focus, and build your legacy quietly, consistently, relentlessly. Because when you choose to rise in darkness, you'll soon walk in a light that only the bold ever see. The world will keep sleeping on their dreams. Don't be one of them. Wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., not for the habit, but for the hunger. Not for routine, but for rebirth. Because those who dare to rise before dawn don't just change their mornings, they change their entire destiny.